In this tutorial I'm going to do some pre-mix sort of prep work to ensure that I have the best or easiest kind of workflow when I come to do the serious mixing. I've just dropped the level of all of the tracks by about minus 15 dB just to stop them kind of peaking at the output. If we zoom in a little bit, we can see that all these waveforms have been probably normalized, or they're very, very close to 0 dB FS. So playing all of those with the faders all the way up, you'll just get this horrible kind of mess. Nothing in this project is well balanced at the moment. These things don't sound particularly good together. They're a bit of a mess because they've all been normalized, so that we will have to go back to square one as part of this. But if you kind of take this project and you look at it and you kind of zoom out and see everything, it's not very easy to kind of see what's going on here. I've labelled all the tracks down the left hand side, which you can do just by double clicking and typing in the name, but none of the audio files are labelled to replicate that stuff there. So if I zoom in, it's kind of hard to see what these audio files necessarily represent. So it'd be nice if the audio files themselves were labelled to what the track was. So you can kind of highlight all of them, or press Command and A to highlight all of the audio regions. And then up here in the functions menu, there's a couple of cool, neat little tricks here. You can name the regions by the track name, or alternatively, if the regions are named but the mixer tracks aren't, you can name them the other way around, so you can name the track by whatever the regions are called. But this time I'm going to name the regions by the track name, because the tracks are all labelled already. And now when I zoom in and I'm working on stuff, even if I don't know what it is, I've got the names of those particular tracks there, even if I'm zoomed in and working at quite a detailed kind of level. So that's quite a good first step. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color code what these tracks are. So I'm going to press Alt and C to bring up the color bar. You can also do that by going to View, Show or Hide Colors. It's that section there, and I'm going to click on the kick track, and I'm going to just go for my favorite or my favored rainbow color system. So kick, snare, a clap, hi-hats. Let's give those the same color. Open hats, that can stay there. Ride, they're all kind of hat type things. Blue, I'm going to go for those loops. Crash, go for that. Hall kick, snare roll. So now that those are all kind of color coded, again visually it's just easier to see what's kind of happening and what's going on in this mix. Now I know that there are some things that are definitely grouped together from their kind of musical function. If I open up the mixer though, none of those colours have kind of transferred over to the mixer strips. So if I click on that there, and if I go functions again, I go colour tracks by regional cell colour. So that's going to populate and colour in all of my tracks in the mixer. So again, when I'm mixing, I'm going to know what's grouped together, what are kind of working together as a set. The next thing I'm going to do is create a software instrument and put that all the way at the top, and I'm going to call this pink noise minus 18 dB. I'm just going to mute it, and I'm going to colour that in a dark purple. All my kind of bus level and submix type stuff, which we'll get onto in a second, I tend to have a system where I just use dark purple. So again, if I see something over there, I know it's going kind of straight to the main outputs or going to a submix, something like that. So I'm going to add in a test oscillator in here. I'm going to click on pink noise, and I'm going to put that at minus 18 dB. Even though it says it's coming in at minus 16. But that's kind of close enough. Maybe I'll go minus 20. It's coming in there. It's not 100% calibrated, but it's around about that level there. And I'm going to have that up my sleeve in case I need to reference pink noise when I'm mixing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some submixes for my tracks. Now, to start with, I'm going to actually change the outputs for all of the tracks together, and I'm going to have them all going by default out to bus 1. And this is going to be relabeled as my submaster. I'm going to relabel the stereo output. I'm just going to call it output. And then I'm going to press Control and T when I've got this channel strip, this auxiliary track highlighted in the mixer strip. If I press Control and T, it's going to actually create a track header in the arrange page for me, or the workspace area. Again, I'm going to colour that in, and I'm going to go, because it's an output track, I'm going to go my dark purple there, and I've got my submaster. So all the tracks at the moment are routed to that submaster. And then that, in turn, goes out to the stereo master, which I might also make a track for as well. If I hit the automation button on and off, it usually will then create a output track for you. Now the reason for this is if you want to bring in reference tracks later on, and you've got all of these tracks mixed together and you want to add some kind of compression and a little bit of glue compression or some light limiting to see what it'll be like once it's been mastered, you don't want that same processing that happens on that channel strip to go to your reference tracks, because they've already been professionally mastered, they're already kind of at their full fat version, and you don't want to be adding to that, as it will kind of give you skewed results when you do kind of comparisons. So it's always advisable to have your main tracks going to a submaster, only the submaster going to the output, submaster and reference tracks. So I might just make an audio track here. I'll call that ref track. And again, I might make that a pink track down there, output there, dark purple, so I know what's kind of happening there. And then if I want to play a reference track, it can go straight to the stereo output there without it going through any processing that happens on my submaster. So that's it for part one. In the next video, we're going to have a look at creating more custom submixes, creating and using marker tracks, and saving our projects in different kind of iterations using the MK or the V system.